Hello, folks. We got some exciting news for you. Yes, I know Bitcoin dumped a couple thousand points, but I'm talking about other exciting news regarding CZ and Roger Ver. CZ has been sentenced. Yes, my friends, sentenced 4 months in jail. I believe it's at a Colorado penitentiary. However, they might actually count part of his time that he was actually constrained by the feds as part of his time in jail. And 4 months is on much the lighter side of the sentencing, which means the judge actually felt kind of against the DOJ and with CZ. Now, because the prosecutors wanted about 3 years, while the defense wanted only probation. So they landed on 4 months. Yeah, 4 months sucks because it's still in prison, but it's a lot better than what prosecutors have wanted. They wanted this as a deterrent to other people acting like CZ, but they didn't actually get it. And of course, the judge actually said some really, really interesting things that might hinder the SEC and the DOJ from future litigation. They literally said, like, you didn't actually tell him what he did was illegal, and you made things very, very nebulous about what's illegal or not. CNBC, Cointelegraph, and others have reported this. Binance founder CZ, who pleaded guilty to money laundering violations in November, was sentenced to 4 months in prison on Tuesday. U.S. prosecutors have recommended a 36-month sentence for Zhao, which is absolutely ridiculous, by the way. The crypto billionaire stepped down as Binance's CEO as part of his agreement with the Justice Department. Binance's billionaire founder Changpeng Zhao was sentenced to 4 months in prison today after pleading guilty to charges of enabling money laundering at his crypto exchange. You had the wherewithal, the finance capabilities, and the people power to make sure that every single regulation had to be complied with, and so you failed at that opportunity, U.S. District Judge Richard Jones said to Zhao in a Seattle federal court, according to a Reuters report. So, he did blame them for, violating the laws, but he said but DOJ didn't actually make them clear. I'm sorry, Zhao told the judge before receiving his sentence per Reuters. I believe the first step of taking responsibility is to fully recognize the mistakes. Here I failed to implement an adequate AML laundering program. So, basically, he had to pay $4.3 billion. Binance had to. CZ had to pay a $50 million fine, but he did not actually get the sentencing that the prosecutors wanted because the prosecutors wanted 3 years as a deterrent. I think that they wanted CZ as just an example. So other people will completely bow to their KYC AML standards and other foreign exchanges would not dare set foot on American soil. But the judge completely foiled their plans there. He basically sat them down and said, you didn't actually make the rules clear. You didn't tell this guy what he was doing was illegal. And you did not point to any one specific crime that he committed. You just kind of had an umbrella term. So the judges were not willing to go for the longer sentences. The judge was very, very smart in this case. So, like I said, they actually landed much closer to what the defense wanted than what the prosecutors wanted. And that's definitely good news for crypto. That shows that the courts and the judges are not all that friendly towards the SEC and the DOJ when it comes to these matters. They think both the SEC and the DOJ is stepping outside of their bounds at this point. So, very, very interesting how this turned out. I actually think this was a pretty good hearing for CZ. Yes, 4 months in prison sucks, but he probably won't serve the entire 4 months because he's going to get some time for the time that he's already been in kind of detention. And the judge actually expressed there was no evidence to suggest Zhao had been informed of any illegal activities at Binance, rejecting a recommendation from the DOJ to increase sentencing guideline. A 4-month sentence, along with billions of dollars in fines, may look like a light punishment through the eyes of the U.S. authorities, as they have been investigating the former executive and its crypto empire for past 6 years. Binance was targeted by several probes, including the DOJ. So, essentially, yeah, the judge didn't really agree with the government officials, which is very good news, which means the pressure isn't completely on just the crypto companies. The other side or the prosecutors have to actually prove what they did and provide evidence, which a lot of times they come up short with. So that's actually bad news for them that they have to put their money where their mouth is, because a lot of times their probes come up empty and they can't point to specific instances. And since the SEC has knowingly kept rules vague, as is the DOJ, they kind of it's really hard pressed for them to actually like pinpoint any one specific instance. So CZ's thing has been resolved. He will be in prison for about 4 months, probably less, and then he will be free by the end of the summer. The other big news is that Roger Ver has been arrested for tax evasion. Now, Ver actually forewent his U.S. citizenship several years ago, but I think he was still a U.S. citizen when he actually made the big money. So after you make your big money and then you forego your U.S. citizenship, you still have to pay the taxes for when you're a U.S. citizen. So I think he owes something like $50 million because he cashed out $240 million like earlier, like probably like 7 years ago. Why this matters? The 45-year-old is from an early vein of Bitcoin investors with deep alliance to libertarian values. He renounced U.S. citizenship in 2014, so it might have been before that, to become a citizen of St. Kitts in the West Indies. According to the Justice Department, Vieira is charged with tax evasion after allegedly selling a stash of Bitcoin owned by U.S. companies, Memory Dealers and Aljastar in 2017. So that's the thing. Like, he might have actually not been a U.S. citizen because he renounced it, but he actually sold a stash of Bitcoin by his US-based companies. And obviously, if you have US-based companies and you sell Bitcoin, you need to pay US taxes. He concealed these sales from his accountants, according to prosecutors, and failed to pay $48 million in taxes that would have been due to the IRS. So they're going for that, and they're probably going for interest on that too. So Roger Ver cannot escape from the authorities, and you can't either if you're trying to hold that much back in taxes. So basically, at its high point, Ver would have only needed to sell 12,000 Bitcoins to bring in $240 million at market prices. Ver also popped up amidst crypto market meltdowns of 2022 as the exchange CoinFlex unwound. So essentially, like, Roger Ver does not want to pay the taxes that he owes. He thought that renouncing U.S. citizenship would actually get him off of it, and that would have been true if that was his personal Bitcoin. However, he used his corporate entities in the United States to sell Bitcoin belonging to those corporate entities, and then he did not pay taxes to the IRS, even though he used U.S. entities to sell the Bitcoin belonging to them. So he does actually owe those taxes. Like, if he was a citizen of St. Kitts and he just sold Bitcoin as a personal thing, I don't think he would be on the hook. But like I said, he actually sold his stash of Bitcoin owned by his U.S.-based companies. And then he concealed it from the IRS. So it's not only a civil penalty, it's also a criminal penalty because you notably concealed, you basically concealed stuff from the taxman. And the taxman does not like it when you do that. The taxman much rather you report and get things wrong than like just conceal it. And they actually treat you a lot nicer if you make an honest attempt to actually report what you owe, and then you just like, report like slightly less or slightly more. Then if you just like completely try to pull one over them, which is essentially what Roger Ver did. Not saying that I'm against Roger Ver and all that stuff, but since he did use his US-based companies to basically sell Bitcoin, he does owe those taxes. And I think he's going to be on civil and criminal liability. The US has been going really, really hard for AML, like KYC AML, and especially the anti-money laundering, anti-tax evasion. They're going to come down pretty hard on this guy because they want to make an example of him too. They want to use any means possible to dissuade KYC AML. And the thing is, if you cash out millions of dollars, they will find out sooner or later. Bitcoin transactions are not exactly private, and they can track your blockchain address. And if they really want to, they can go after the person. It's just that most of us are insignificant, and it's not really worth it for them to actually come after us. But a big fish like Roger Ver with $240 million, owing them $50 million, and knowingly concealed his actions to the IRS, yeah, that dude is going to be in a lot of trouble. He's already in a lot of trouble, but he will be even in more trouble as time comes along. So shouldn't have hidden all that stuff from the IRS. Should have just paid the taxes and been on his happy way. If he didn't want to be a U.S. citizen, sell stuff through your private account. Don't do it through your US-based companies, because obviously if you have a US-based company, you're going to owe the IRS money. So today's update has basically been a legal update of these two characters. CZ is ending up actually better than I thought, only 4 months, probably won't even serve the full 4 months. Roger Ver, however, is probably going to be in a world of hurt because he can't like make the same argument that like he didn't know that concealing things from the IRS was illegal because everyone knows concealing things from the IRS is illegal. So very interesting developments today. We'll probably talk about the dump in a later video, and I will see you guys later.